My name is Kelsey. I am 30 years old, and this is the story of how I paid the highest price to learn the lowest truth about family. If you've ever believed blood was thicker than water, if you've ever bent your back to save the very people who should have lifted you, then maybe my story will feel like a mirror you wish you could smash. I wasn't born into riches, but I was born into duty. From the time I could walk, I was the quiet one, the good one, the fixer. My parents didn't ask, they expected. If there was a mess, I cleaned it. If my brother fell, I picked him up. If they were drowning in bills, I sacrificed whatever I had. And maybe in some twisted way, I thought that if I kept saving them, they would finally see me, finally love me the way they loved him. My brother Evan was always the golden child, the prodigal son. He wrecked cars, dropped out of jobs, burned through relationships like matches, yet every time he stumbled, they wrapped their arms tighter around him. And me, I could break myself in half and still not be enough. 6 months ago, when I was living out of my car after a brutal breakup and double shifts at the hospital, my phone rang. It was Mom, sobbing so hard I thought someone had died. "Kelsey," she choked, "we're going to lose the house. Your father, he made some bad investments. We're 280,000 in the hole." The house. That word alone felt like an anchor around my chest. That porch where I had my 5th birthday, the staircase I used to tiptoe down on Christmas mornings, it wasn't just wood and nails, it was my childhood, my only constant. Losing it felt like losing the only proof that I had belonged somewhere, so I asked the question I shouldn't have asked, the one that would peel back the skin of all their excuses. "What happened to Grandpa's inheritance? The money he left you?" Mom sniffled, hesitated, and then whispered the answer I had always known was coming. "We used it to help your brother start his business. You know how hard it's been for him." Of course, Evan, always the priority. And yet, even as anger burned my throat, I couldn't bear the thought of that house, my house, falling under the auctioneer's hammer. So I drained my savings, maxed out my credit cards, took out a personal loan that would chain me to interest for years. I walked into that office with a manila folder full of cashier's checks, every dime of the debt accounted for. I'll never forget the look on their faces. Dad, the man who hadn't hugged me in years, wrapped me in the tightest embrace and whispered, "You're our hero." Mom dropped to her knees and cried into my arms. They cooked me dinner that night, took pictures, even posted about me on Facebook like I was some kind of war hero. For a moment, I let myself believe it. For a moment, I thought, finally I matter. But the thing about illusions is that they shatter fast. The very next evening, I came home from my shift at the hospital. The sun was slipping behind the pines, painting the porch in gold. I still had the smile from last night stuck to my face when I pulled into the driveway. But something was wrong. The curtains were gone. The flower beds Mom fussed over were torn up. The driveway was empty. I rushed to the front door, key in hand. The lock turned, but the house was gutted. No furniture, no laughter, no trace of the family I thought I had saved. On the hardwood floor sat a white envelope with my name scrawled in rushed pen. I tore it open with trembling hands. Inside was a single note. "Thanks for fixing our credit, loser. We moved to Florida with your brother. Don't call." No signature, no remorse, just that. I dropped the envelope and sank to the floor, the weight of every sacrifice crushing me at once. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, but no tears came. I dragged myself out onto the front lawn like a ghost, while neighbors waved as if nothing had happened. I wanted to scream, to burn something down, but instead I smiled. Because what they didn't know was that when I paid off the house, I had quietly transferred the deed into my own name. Every document signed, notarized, filed. So the sale they had attempted wasn't valid. And within 24 hours, they were going to learn exactly what it meant to betray the wrong daughter. The deed was mine. The ink wasn't even dry, but it was legal, ironclad, unshakable. I had sat in that lawyer's office weeks before, quietly arranging it, while Mom cried about bills and Dad cursed the banks. They thought I was naive, the obedient daughter willing to throw her life away for scraps of affection. What they didn't realize was that years of being overlooked had taught me how to plan in silence. The morning after finding their note, I drove to the county clerk's office. The woman behind the desk pulled up the file, stamped it, and handed me the official copy. Kelsey Ann Myers, sole owner. I ran my fingers across those words like they were scripture. By the end of the week, their Florida fantasy unraveled. Dad called first, his voice ragged with fury. "What the hell did you do? We can't sell the house, it's in your name." His rage was almost comical. For once, his anger wasn't about me disappointing him, it was about me outsmarting him. Then Mom called, trying a softer approach. She begged, pleaded, promised that this was all a misunderstanding, that they only left because they thought I'd be better off without the stress. But her words fell flat. I could still hear the venom of that note. "Thanks for fixing our credit, loser. There are mistakes you can forgive. Abandonment isn't one of them." Neighbors whispered when I returned to the house. They'd seen the moving trucks, the hasty departure. Now they saw me alone but standing. Some offered sympathy. Others just watched, waiting for drama to bloom. I ignored them all. I planted new flowers in Mom's torn-up beds, painted the front door a bold red, and filled the gutted rooms with secondhand furniture I bought myself. Piece by piece, I rebuilt not just the house but myself. Weeks turned into months. My parents tried to fight me legally, but the paperwork was bulletproof. They tried to guilt me, but guilt only works on someone still craving love. And I wasn't that girl anymore. Every time their number flashed on my phone, I pressed decline. Silence became my sweetest revenge. Evan, of course, called too. His voice was dripping with entitlement. "You're ruining everything, Kels. You think this makes you strong? You're pathetic." Hearing him spit the same word Mom had written should have broken me. Instead, I laughed. Because nothing shows strength like refusing to play the victim in a game built to destroy you. And the sweetest part? The house wasn't just walls and memories anymore. It became my sanctuary. My gallery of survival. I turned the living room into an art studio, painted murals on the walls, and every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a piece of my stolen childhood. But here's the truth about betrayal: it never disappears. It lingers, a ghost that rattles chains in the quiet. I would wake some nights sweating, hearing Mom's voice, seeing Dad's glare, reading that note over and over in my mind. Loser, loser, loser. And every time I would whisper back into the dark owner. When the whispers of loser no longer haunted me, I knew I had crossed a threshold. My parents' betrayal had carved scars across my soul, but those scars had turned into armor. And with every sunrise spilling through the windows of the house they tried to steal, I felt stronger, bolder, more untouchable. Months later, I heard through a distant cousin that their Florida dream had rotted fast. Evan's business collapsed again, this time under fraud allegations. The money they siphoned off me wasn't enough to cover his mistakes. They were back to begging, borrowing from relatives, scraping by their names a stain wherever they went. And me, I sat on the porch of the home they left behind, sipping coffee, knowing the tables had finally turned. They tried one last time. A letter written in Mom's script, shaky and pitiful. "Families forgive. Can't we start over?" I burned it in the kitchen sink. Because forgiveness isn't owed, it's earned. And they had spent a lifetime withdrawing from an account they never once bothered to fill. The irony is that I had feared losing the house because I thought it was my only anchor. But now I understood the house was never about bricks and beams. It was about me claiming space in a world that tried to erase me. My laughter echoing in the hallways wasn't just sound, it was defiance. It was proof that I had survived them, and that survival itself was revenge. If you've ever been betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect you, hear this. You are not what they called you. You are not their shame, their scapegoat, their loser. You are your own anchor, your own name on the deed. So if my story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what was the moment you realized you no longer owed loyalty to those who betrayed you?